TakeTones.com. TakeTones.com.
Closed on a deal that will be determining the future of content for the most part for me for the next few years. And it was a very important and big decision. You know, I will let you. What is this on screen? I will let you guys know that like most of this stuff is unexpected to me. You know, I've came from the place of just kind of grinding up from the bottom to where I've been. So I never really expect, you know, shit. Even Complex was a little bit really new to me. You know, I've always only ever gotten what I worked for. I've never gotten anything else. I've also never evaluated what quote unquote I was worth in the marketplace and actually potentially looked for a deal for that. I just always kept it going. A few months before Everyday Struggle ended, I was, you know, we had a call with me and a few of the heads of development and also, you know, the top EP on the network and also, you know, some executive people at Complex. And they alerted me, they said, Ak, we love you, but Everyday Struggle, we don't know if we could still produce. Let me be very clear, because I understand there are people who are even in this chat that watch me. Everyday Struggle, first of all, I was never fired. The Chrissy Teigen thing did not affect my employment at Complex, despite what many people and detractors that don't like me will continue to report and have reported. That did not matter. What mattered was, and I could tell y'all in plain numbers now, Complex, Everyday Struggle wasn't a show that was super ad supported, which means the company had to shell out hard cash in producing that content, and they always felt they needed that content to keep Complex as a company very culturally relevant. Everyday Struggle, from when me and Joe was on it at first, even down to the end when me and Wayne was on it, basically it got Complex in the conversation of the culture, not just being some fringe hype beast company. That's worth a lot. That also would include some of the gripes that Joe had with the company during his stint, because the value of an Everyday Struggle is more than the numbers. It's about the real estate. It's about the cultural equity. They were spending $2 million to, I know all the numbers. I'm executive producer. I own not own a percentage, but I get a percentage, participate, or I did with Everyday Struggle. So if there was ever profit made, I was entitled to a percentage. By the way, that's exactly what Joe argued with them for, which, again, as I always said, me and him, we have different styles. I always said, especially when people spoke about my business acumen incorrectly, what Joe argued for, I got. Let me say it again. What Joe argued for, I got. Not in the time frame that Joe wanted it, but over time I did. So a percentage of Everyday Struggle in terms of profits or whatever went to me. But the problem that Complex ran into is that they were spending $2 million to make the show yearly. They had to pay me. I don't think I was an executive producer as well. I didn't charge them an executive producer fee. They had to pay me a huge host fee. They had to pay Nadeska. They had to pay Wayno. They had to pay our production staff, even though the staff for the most part was insular, so there were complex, you know, stuff. But like you have to pay. You have a production cost for all these shows. It was $2 million. Just all transparency. I believe, if you notice, we didn't have many ads at all. I think what they made each year, maybe like 1.3, at least the last year. So to give everybody who always seemed like, oh my God, they took a loss with Everyday Struggle. Really, because many different reasons. It's a cultural show. We don't edit ourselves. We don't bleep shit. I think selling to cultural entities was a little bit different and difficult for Complex, but we didn't do too many ads or do enough, right, to really cover that. So they took $700,000 loss. Then the next year with COVID, they're projected, and at a point they said, "Hey, it's probably cheaper if we didn't produce the show, despite how much it's good for us." That had nothing to do with Complex not wanting to do business with me. As I told you, Complex has already announced that, well, not announced, but through my discussions with them, we're rebooting my show on their network, which is On the Sticks. Okay, I'm already picking people who I believe should be on the show. I speak to a bunch of people from Complex. There's no bad blood. There should be no hate sent to Complex. We both helped each other accomplish the goals we wanted to. So that's why Everyday Struggle ended. And they gave me ample notice that they weren't willing to do financially the commitment again. I remember telling you guys a lot of that heavily hinged on me. A part of my deal was that regardless of if they renew with me, don't matter if Everyday Show gets produced, they got to pay me a huge lump sum of money. It was in their best interest to not do that, especially for a show that they believe or they couldn't turn a profit with at that time. Anyway, that's why Everyday Struggle ended. That's it. There's no conspiracy theory. There's Chrissy Teigen don't matter. None of that shit matters. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Okay? Now, it was since then, about October. I knew about October, right? That it was going to end in December. And I was already thinking of, but we started to shop the idea of a podcast. I've been approached many, many years ago. I could vividly remember the 2014. The first person that approached me to do a podcast was a near and I call him a friend, but also he's a mentor. Charlemagne the God. He approached me and he said, I got this thing called Loudspeaker Network. I'm doing this podcast. It was really new at that time. It's called Brilliant Idiots. You should do a podcast as well. Like, you are a voice, and on Twitter, people know this and third about you. You should, turn some of this online stuff into a podcast. I was more concerned with my audience. I said no. And actually, did I necessarily say no? Or maybe I was just kind of like dragging it. I didn't really say no, but I think when you ask someone something and like they're almost not trying to answer, they don't kind of want to do it. And he was right. I didn't want to do it at that time. That was 2014. 2017, I'm on Everyday Struggle. I'm doing a show with Joe Budden. Joe Budden approaches me and says, I'm thinking about doing this network thing. Your podcasts are the future. I got here to be sitting across from you from podcasts. And even though you're a YouTuber, you should do a podcast. He's like, yo, truth be told, a lot of things, blah, 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 with, like just how Complex does their thing and whatever and gets a lot of money for us being on screen together, I could fucking monetize, and I have already a plan to monetize a network that has podcasts, including mine, yours, and a few other people. He told me a list. Ironically, by the way, hopefully it's not a proprietary information, but I remember when he told me the list, I believe one of the guys he replaced the Stooges with, Ruri and Mealy Mole, whatever the last name is. One of the guys he replaced him with, I think the guy's name was Ice. I think he told me, he said, yo, I'm going to give that guy a podcast. He was like really, always in the mix on Twitter. So he offered me that, and I was like, thought about it, mentioned it again. And I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I didn't think my audience was ready. I was like, I think my audience likes shorter content. They don't like long form content. I don't want to do this for potentially a money grab. Now, Joe was planning the business at that point. So he gave me what would be his business plan if this happened how he foresaw it happening. And I remember saying at that time there was no real like business thing for a podcast. I remember saying to myself, I'm like, I don't think Joe knows I'm getting like 130,000 a month from YouTube. Why the fuck would I go do a podcast that I'm gonna like, yo, hey, let's just bring my audience here. There's no monetization structure. Also, my audience don't want long form content. I didn't do a podcast. By the way, I think Joe had his idea initially was to partner with Complex with that, and I think Complex at that point, not foreseeing that podcasts would be later the thing, they probably looked at him like, "You want to do what? Pop?" Laughed my butt. So congrats to him on all the success. What's since happened is that podcast and just audio has changed forms. FM radio is almost obsolete. There's a few stations or shows that still do great things. But these days, the new format, we could call it podcast, but I do believe it's much more than that. Audio is alive and it exists on many different platforms. So I went about pitching a podcast in October for the very first time, knowing that I was going to be committed to it. Then, like 2 weeks later, I realized Everyday Struggles ended. By the way, it was summertime last year. I kind of had the feeling, not that Everyday Struggle was ending, but the impact that we once had with the show was not the same. So I wanted, to establish a new platform. Anyway, to keep this forward and just updating you with what I'm saying. Essentially, I've been working since November till now to finalize a deal on what I'm going to call, I won't just call a podcast. I'm going to call my new show. Let's just say that. You might call it a podcast, and if you do, it's cool. And you might just call it a show. And if you do, cool. In the last month, and I know y'all be like, remember I told y'all it was coming in January, and then my lawyer and whatever, they were like, well, we got this here, we got this here, we got this person. And I don't want to necessarily call out companies' names that were involved because I don't want to make them look bad or whatever the case is, but we spoke to everybody. We spoke. Just name any company you can think of your head that does audio, we talk to them. And ultimately, for the last month and a half, it came down to 2. And I'll tell you this, because this was important to me. The reason why I made a decision today is because one of the people or one of the companies involved, they came to us. They knew we were this close to leaving and going to another company, and they said, they came to us and they said, listen, well, actually, one of our big things was ownership. And they said, they finally agreed. But they say, we agree only if you accept it by the end of the week. And about 3.5 hours ago, sitting with the best offer from both companies, I made my decision. And essentially, we will be appearing on a very familiar platform very soon. I can tell you, and I'm super happy to be a partner with these people. My gut feeling, I'm gonna tell you this also. and I think I can say this. I can say this. I could see the fucking headlines, or not headlines, but like the fucking clickbait that they might do when I say this. Fuck. I was just texting my man. I told him this. Let me look. Oh my god. The difference between option A and option B, I can tell you this, and this is why I called my mom. My mom said a prayer for me earlier. I turned down about $1 million per year, but I went with my gut, 100%. By the way, these are multi-million-dollar deals, so this is not some bullshit, right? So the difference in what I turned down per year, like my gut was one place, but the other place, they were bringing the fucking Brinks truck. They were like, what's that? Does that sound? Beep, beep. They backing it up. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not an L. It's not an L. I'm gonna tell you, it's not an L. It's not an L. Let me tell you, it's not about the money. The money is only significant of what we've accomplished, and I only mentioned millions because I want you guys to know that little old Akademiks, where everybody tried to shit on for years, that y'all watched on YouTube with shitty cameras, shitty gifts, shitty this, and y'all just listen to me tell some jokes. And by the way, let me just be very clear: the other deal I took is worth millions of dollars per year as well, 100%, 100%. Okay. There was ups and downs. There was downsides and upsides to both deals. Like, for example, the deal that was going to pay me more wouldn't start till maybe next year, while this is going to be quick. These people are a little bit more in the game already. These people already have many proven, they have proof of success, as opposed to these other people where, yeah, you might collect the check, but who knows if you're going to be lit. You know what I mean? Like, they might be like, yeah, I know we gave you the money, but we figuring this shit out too. They're newer to that type of game. It's not always about the money. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. And again, when you're fortunate and also happy and lucky, and you're not just here chasing checks, but you're chasing the right opportunity. The money that probably I left on the table, I'll make back every year times 5. I promise you that. So for anybody, the person who says, "Oh, Ak, you left money," no, this ain't like the NBA, right? Where you're like, yeah, this is kind of like the NBA, nigga. You could go to fucking, even though I don't want to make that comparison because these two companies are they're competitors. I ain't gonna lie. You could go to motherfucking. Not because LeBron is signed for lesser money on the Lakers means he's not making more because of he's in LA. Do you get what I mean? That's all I want to say. So the money wasn't what made me make my decision. It was more of, chat, y'all know me. Let's talk about it. Yo, which company gonna be with me when these niggas try to slander me? When these niggas try to throw me under the bus, when these niggas try their monthly attempt to cancel me. If I ain't do nothing wrong, or niggas is just jumping on shit because I'm hated for whatever reason at whatever time, which one of these companies gonna be like, yo, hold up. Now, nigga, we know who we signed. Like, hey, if he ain't do nothing wrong, we fucking with him. And who's gonna be like, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. When Complex suspended me, it hurt a little bit because I'm like, man, y'all know why I was here doing all this shit. Like, y'all hired me as the 8th. Like, I'm the wild card. Y'all have also had me do the wild shit, which y'all have put me in crazy more predicaments. But then you realize quickly who will ride and who won't. So I said, okay, I got y'all. So those things are very important, not only the money. By the way, in everything y'all spamming like 8 companies. Like, y'all have said exactly, like y'all have said one of the companies. Don't worry. But yeah, no. Again, I wish I could just tell y'all everything, but I just want to let y'all know patience is a virtue, something that's not usually afforded to people that come from the place I come from. In terms of, I came from YouTube, I came from a place of just grinding it, striking while the iron's hot, and I had to really sit from November till now to get this deal. And I want to thank and salute to the company who I will be joining, that you guys will hear the announcement about quite soon. That, you know, from we first sat down at the table, they've almost damn near tripled their offer. They clearly saw it was important to keep me and make sure not someone else doesn't take that opportunity. Also clearly understood some of the things that matter to me. You know, for example, I don't care where I was gonna go. Hey, if I'm gonna go to your company and I can't stream, we ain't going there. I don't care what you offer me. I gotta talk to my people every night. Well, not every night, I know. If I gotta go somewhere and they're like, well, we'll just give you. Imagine a company said, well, we'll give you $5 million a year, but you can't do no more YouTube videos. Well, hold up, man. YouTube got me here. I could grind that out my damn self. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So all those things were very important to me. I'm in a very happy mood, and I wish I could just tell y'all what it is, but it's one of the other hint could I give without giving it away? I'll leave it at that for now. This deal was significant. I'm gonna be very honest, and I know people are gonna latch on. I should have probably never said that. That whole million a year thing, yo, this deal is lucrative. It's much more than any other company has ever paid me. I'm gonna be very honest. Okay? Actually, much more than any other company has paid me in 2 years that I'll be receiving in a year. So I have no qualms. I'm super happy. I'm happy to walk into the situation. This company also values my audience. They value y'all. They clearly realize my demographics. They did studies about my shit. So they value you guys, and they understand why you guys, or I think they do, why you guys fuck with me, and they understand that disrupting that is not even a possibility. So we'll leave that at there for now, but the announcement will happen quite soon. Somebody said, what? What y'all saying? Somebody, okay, I can answer some questions. Y'all hope it's what? Somebody says it's McDonald's or Subway. Oh man. I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is what you see me, I'm like, I call my mama just because I'm like, yo, mom, I offered her vacations. I'm like, yo, listen, this should been stressing me out. My birthday coming up, so I might go somewhere else. But I'm like, yo, I said, mom, you need to go somewhere. I'm happy I grew up literally in the countryside of Jamaica. I was the last of 3 kids. Shit, I remember my mama told me this like earlier this year. I never knew this. Your mom ever tell you some stuff about like how you came to be alive that shocked you? She was like, not gonna lie, I was done having kids after your older brother. I'm the last of 3. And you were like, you just popped up. And I'm like, she was like, I know it's a blessing from God. And I'm like, okay, mom, all right. But still, love my mom. Anyway, I say all that to say, let me see. I'll answer a couple questions. All right, am I still allowed on Twitch? Yes. Am I still allowed to do YouTube videos? Yes. It is it won't be a traditional podcast. You will see exactly what that it turns out to be. These people, you definitely know their name. They're not just some random people. It's I could tell you. N- Tell us how much per year, weirdo. Nah, I don't want to do. No, I can tell you this. It's and maybe this like calms that down a little bit. This is a. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like an NBA player accepting the deal, so I'm good. It's multi-million per year. That's it, 100%. Okay. Um, Obviously, the tax man and a bunch of people gonna get their parts on that, but still, it's a multi-million per year deal.